just weird stuff happened. And suddenly they called and like, we're shutting it down for good. And there was no one for us to call because no one was in charge. And they took the tax write off. And suddenly my like successful TV show, dream show that was like every part of me that I'd worked so hard on was gone. Like, so that unfairness of just craziness that I have a trouble that I have to work on, and it's
I
obviously been years now. And obviously I.
Welcome to the Funny in Failure podcast, a podcast that celebrates failure and shines the light on the emotional side of comedy and life with yours truly, Michael Kahan. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Today's chat, what a thrill. Andrea's hilarious, deep, reflective, a great conversationalist, all the tools for a brilliant chat. Andrea has a great energy about her with great stories, reflections, and learnings. It's very empowering and inspiring. I could have spoken to her for ages, hearing how she created I'm Sorry and what she did differently. I won't reveal too much, but it's amazing to hear. There's a lot covered in this one. It's a really, really good chat. Okay, Andrea's great. I had a great time. Enjoy this conversation with Andrea Savage. Andrea Savage is an actor, writer, director, producer, and podcaster. She's probably best known for creating the breakout show I'm Sorry, which is absolutely hilarious. You might also recognize her from her iconic roles in Veep as Laura Montez, Stacey Bill in Tulsa King, Denise or the therapist in Step Brothers, and Helen Bash in Episodes, to name a few. She also hosted the very popular podcast, Andrea Savage, a grown-up woman, #buttholes. As you can imagine, we cover a lot and we dive deep and we chat about her famous poker nights, I'm Sorry, and creating and running your own show, and when it doesn't go ahead, Step Brothers, being authentic, making shows that don't go ahead, groundlings and being let go, moving forward, and what's next, plus plenty more. Before we get into this epic chat, I'd love it if you would share the podcast around, like, comment, subscribe. It really helps the podcast grow and helps ensure I can lock in amazing guests like this one. Okay, cool. Thanks so much. Let's get into it. Actually, this could actually be a fun place to start. I heard you in another interview, so I'm not
Oh,
sure if it was in
Jesus.
reference to your show. No. Don't worry, all that bad stuff's coming up. Did you used to run a poker night, or do you still run a poker night? And I'd love to know what.
Yes, I used to play a lot of poker.
Oh, so interesting.
I still am in a poker league where we play. There's all these rules and there's multitude of games throughout the year.
Yep.
And you start in the beginning and basically all the money's at the end, and there's costumes and there's themes and there's weird nights. It's really fun. I used to have a poker game once a month, I think for a decade. And then
Whoa.
Mhm, everyone who won that one of the months would play at the final table at the end of the year for like a special whatever, and you get this big trophy, and it was like a whole thing. Yeah. Now my poker game's kind of gone to shit. I'm not
What happened?
kidding. I'm not kidding. I think the patience I used to have for it, because it takes so long. Uh, I'm still in the poker league, but I definitely don't try as hard as I used to.
Don't have that competitive spirit? Is it almost like you're there
Mm-mm.
for an hour for the banter, but then you just want to get out and you do like all in on like a
I
terrible
mean, a
hand?
little longer than an hour because it is social. There's like 30 something of us in this league.
Whoa.
Yeah, no, it's no joke. So it's fun. We've been doing it for 18 years, maybe 19 years. No,
Wow.
18, I think.
That's as old as I am.
17? I don't know. Anyway. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's cute. It's as old as you are.
Yeah.
Um,
I appreciate
and
that, the way that you said that, but continue.
yeah, no, you look terrible for your age,
Yeah.
I'll be honest.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For 17, you don't
Yeah.
look
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
wife says the same for my actual age as well. So
100%. Oh, well,
yeah.
I don't agree with that, but
Yeah.
so yes, I do. I have a history of playing a lot of poker. Um, Less so now.
What got you into this? Because did you start it and it was at your house? So I assume it was a social.
You know, it was social, but also like I love playing games. Like I'm a game player and I'm a quiet secret little nerd. Like I do the New York Times crossword puzzle every single day. I do all the games on the New York Times app. I do other crossword puzzles. I do brain weird word problems.
Yeah.
So I like games and I like strategy and like that kind of stuff. And it kind of started social, but I was kind of good at it. And figuring out the math and reading people, it was just kind of fun. And then
That's
I,
so,
yeah, got more into it.
I find that so interesting, and it also would be a great place to, to be social, but also I'm sure you got a lot of material with that many people. And were they comedy people as well?
It's the weirdest mix of people. Like it's honestly, and there's people who I've played poker with, no joke, for 16, 17 years, and I can't really tell you what they do for a living. Um,
That's the best. That's like my
yeah,
basketball team.
you know, truly, I'm like, wait, what does Tyler do? Um, and then there's people who are in the entertainment industry. There's quite a few writers, actually, a lot of like Bob's Burgers writers and like that kind of thing. A lot of animation writers and some other bit like, it's a weird hodgepodge of people, which is delightful.
And I wrote like 5 different points. It's just
Hmm.
going to be about your poker experience. You mentioned that
Fantastic.
whoever won in the
Hmm.
month, they would then be invited to the end of year tournament. But because you
Yes.
hosted it, if you never won one, would you still end up at that tournament?
No, I'd
Ah,
still
so
have
you'd
to
host.
fucking host it, even if I wasn't
Oh,
in it.
that's brutal. Did that ever
Mhm.
happen, or you're just that good that you never lost?
Well, my husband, now actually ex-husband, which I haven't really spoken about a lot, but we're very, very good friends. We still play poker together. We still
Oh,
host
that's
poker
nice.
games together.
Yeah.
But I feel like I used to be pretty good and he's very good as well. I feel like most years, both of us, or at least one of us, we're in it.
As long as the family name was in it, then that's fine. Like you're still representing.
Still
So that,
represented.
yeah, still
Yeah.
represented.
Yeah.
Very cool. And
But
then,
if
yeah, no,
But
sorry.
now when I host poker at my house, because there's a lot of people, there's multiple tables, and I'll host it here every once in a while. We trade hosting.
Okay.
Now I just go, all right, it's 1 in the morning. I'm going to bed now. You guys figure it out. You know how to lock my door. Good night to you. Like now I feel like I'm like, I don't really care about being a gracious hostess at this point. I've known you all
I
too long.
get
Clean
out.
up
Shoot,
and
shoot.
get the fuck out. Bye bye.
The alarm is going to go off in 1 minute. I actually had
Totally.
a New Year's Eve party a few years ago, and there were a few hundred people there. And then by the end, there were like 80 people that were just on the
Uh-huh.
lawn. And it was like 3 a.m. Like, I'm actually going to bed. So I just
Mhm.
locked all the doors and said, guys, you can't go. If you need to go to the toilet, go now. And they just chilled there till like 5 or 6, I assume. I just went to bed. Yeah.
Yeah, I always the next morning text and go, "Hey, what time did you guys head out?" They're
And
like
they're like, I'm
3.
still
I'm
here.
like, "Okay, yeah."
Good for you. Okay. And the last and final question of the poker
I
night.
Yeah,
We're going to just call this the poker games. You
yeah.
said that
This is
you
the
would
poker
do
games.
weird nights. What are weird nights for the poker?
So there's this guy Tim who kind of runs it, and there's always like he makes up weird games. Like we have something called Mop the Flop. So it's like. It's so dumb. And if you don't play poker, nothing is more boring than hearing people talk about poker if you don't play poker.
I
So,
disagree
but
because the
anyway,
way that you're talking about it is hilarious to me. But
so there's this thing where you get 3 cards in your hand instead of 2 whole cards. And then, you know, they do the flop. You can take, so there's betting pre, and then you can take one of your cards and cover one of the flop cards
okay,
and bet. And then other people after you have the opportunity to cover other ones. So you're kind of protecting your hand and fucking up what you think someone else possibly could be going for. Like if you have a strong hand, but there's a potential, 2 card, 3 card flush, that whatever's on there, you're going to cover it with something to try to prevent them. And then there's other, so we have these like weird other games. There's even more dumb ones that don't make any sense. You get extra points if you win on a 2-7 all year, but you have to show it because
That's
that's the
fun.
worst hand in poker, two
Yep.
7 off. So if you win with it, you show it, you get extra points and the team points. There's team points and personal points. The theme this year is Survivor, which I've never watched and half the groups never watched. So half of us have no idea what's happening. I got exiled. I was like, is this good or bad? I don't know what's happening. I have to wear a horrible tie-dye outfit when I play. There's costume. There's a lot happening here.
I was thinking when you said weird nights, like you all dressed up in like, I don't know, like burlesque or like as fire people or like just some random stuff like dress nights.
Oh, no, because we're always kind of weirdly dressed up.
I'm glad
Because you
that,
have to dress like your team. So a
oh,
weird night would be everyone dresses normal. One time, this was a very funny story. So, well, not a very funny story, but relatively funny. Let's all drop our expectations
yeah.
here.
We're just going,
So one of the teams was construction themed. So they all had orange construction vests. Someone
yep.
was hosting poker. They had moved, but the old address had been on the email that went out. Then another email out right before was like, oh, sorry, wrong email. This is the correct address. So most of us saw it. One of the people on the construction team didn't see it, walked straight into the house because the door was unlocked, walked straight into their home dressed as a construction worker holding a 6-pack of beer. And
No.
like, he could have gotten killed. He
Oh
didn't,
yeah,
but
in
they were not
America.
thrilled. Yeah.
So
But
does this
anyway, so he was in costume and just walked into someone else's living room.
what was that like? Because that would be exceptionally funny or horrifying all at the same time for that
I've done
family.
that before when I was going to a brunch.
Yep.
And it was like this woman was kind of having this brunch party and it was a work kind of ladies, women in television. I don't know. So I didn't really know her house. I didn't know anything. I don't know. I looked at the address wrong and I went to the house across the street. For whatever reason, their front door was open. So I walked in, walked through their home. They were all a family eating brunch on their patio in the back. And I just walked into their house and walked into their patio and was like, sorry, is the part, like I didn't know if I should let myself in. They were like, who are you? What? They were very nice. And then I was like, sorry, I don't think that you are Jennifer. And they were like, she lives across the street.
Oh, that's
But I
amazing.
walked literally through their home.
I wish you had brunch with them. That would have been great.
I think I would have preferred that more than this weird like TV party with people. I was like, I don't know.
But from
Yeah.
the costume side, I was
Mhm.
just thinking about this earlier because you did the groundlings, and I think costumes was quite a feature around the time. And you didn't love the costumes, I believe. Can you tell me what that reaction?
Well, this is the thing is Groundlings was an incredible experience for me in that it started me writing and it started me in comedy. I wasn't specifically focused on comedy in any way before that. And it taught me, I kept going through the classes. It's like comedy boot camp. You start writing, you do this, but then you get into the company and sketch comedy. I'm there with Melissa McCarthy and, Kristen Wiig and, all of these like incredible sketch performers. But I was a good writer. And I realized there, I am not the person who's going to put a funny voice on and a wig. That's not going to be my thing. But I was good enough at writing and good enough at sort of generic performing to kind of get through the program and keep getting advanced until the end. But I was not as comfortable doing it. I don't think it was my forte. And it was after I was in the Groundlings that I started to do stand up for a little bit and really started like writing in my own voice and being like, you know what, you're, really writing, but not in sketch form or like a crazy woman at the market. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't going to be able to compete with these incredible sketch performers. It just never felt right on me, even though if you saw from the outside, I did pretty well at it, but it just wasn't the sketches that I liked the most were very grounded and more funny scenarios in life that you were sort of spoofing, like an
Yeah.
encounter with someone who's being strange, or where I was kind of playing a straight version, kind of not the like wacky one.
I feel the same way. My improv experience is very little, but in the
Mm-hmm.
occasional times with the sketches, I would want to do sketches the way that you would like to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And there is like a specific way, and I know we'll talk about it, but Groundlings was amazing for your career as well. But what are you feeling in the moment when, because you probably think this is comedy, this is all it is. You don't know about stand up as much at that stage. So were you aware?
Mm-mm.
Were you like, oh, maybe I'm not the best writer? What were you thinking at the time?
No, I was so all in over there. Like it becomes your whole life. It's kind of culty. It's like
Yeah,
all
I've
you
heard.
do is
Yeah,
groundlings.
yeah,
It's your social life. Every party you go to, it's just all groundlings. And it's really competitive. And you've got actors voting on other actors. It's a really dicey political place. Um, I didn't know from comedy because it was the only place I'd really done comedy. And I was doing well. I was,
progressing
considered
and yeah,
strong in it, and I knew that I was good at that's where I really started going, oh, you're good at writing. And my academic background that was not being sort of fed and fulfilled, I kind of knew that being an actor wasn't going to be enough and
oh,
wanted to
even
do
then,
more. And yeah, I think I did. Just going, I worry I want to do more than just that, Um and but didn't really know what that meant. But
yeah.
I didn't really know the industry. I didn't really know what different jobs were. But I kind of felt that, and I really enjoyed writing and really started to go like, oh, this way you can have a little bit of control in a world where you have no control of how you're perceived. You can get on stage if you do stand up. You don't have to wait for your phone to ring. You can just be proactive and disciplined and like do the work and go show people what you can do instead of waiting for them to invite you to do something
Yes.
they've done and then either choose you or not choose you. So it gave me a little sense, I think, of control once
Well,
I realized I could write.
I
I
love that.
mean, false control, obviously.
We'll agree to disagree, but I want to pigeonhole the stand up because I've had a few
Hmm.
guests that have been on Groundlings, and they also talk about how it can be a bit dicey politically, like you've said.
Hmm.
But one of the things I find so interesting is that basically everyone there's not earning any money, and it's like a full time job, and
It
the
is a
work demands.
full-time job.
Yeah, and the
It
work
is a
demands.
full-time job. When you're in the Sunday company, it's like SNL. You have to put on a new show every week.
Mm,
Like you have to write sketches. You have your show Sunday night. You had to turn in however many sketches you could write Wednesday. They decide what's going to be in the show Sunday. And then you'd have to get costumes and learn your lines and be in other people's stuff. And this was the prestigious. This was, oh my God. And then if you made it to the main company, which I was cut, which was heartbreaking, um, then you're just performing every Friday and Saturday night, 2 shows a night for free.
that's
Like
crazy.
that was the win, which is once I got away from it, I was like, oh, wait, that's
That's
not
weird.
great to
Yeah.
survive on. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how did you go with the work demands of that? Because as we said, it's a full-time job. It's crazy. You have to get new sketches out. Did you have burnout? How did you like push through it? Because this is all the time, 24 hours a day.
You know what? I was obviously younger. And this is where I think that academic background of mine really came in because I have always been able to, for whatever reason, put my head down and do the work. And weirdly, kind of like it. Like I kind of like the challenge and like it being so intense and pushing in that way. And because my brain kind of worked well with writing, I had some positive reinforcement back, you know, in terms
Okay.
of like sketches would get in, or, like I felt like I was, even though maybe I wasn't going to be the person who's wearing, like a leotard that's too tight and it looks crazy and the whole whatever, I didn't physically look funny.
Yeah.
Um, but I liked it. I kind of liked that pressure cooker.
That's a great trait, especially in this industry. And we'll talk about how it's probably helped you with writing and producing, creating shows. But in that
Yeah.
moment, I've heard you talk about it a few times, but on Dax Shepard's one, you, Dax Shepard, and
Mm-hmm.
what's her name? Caitlin
Yep.
Olsen,
I
all
knew.
hilarious people.
And Caitlin, yeah, we were all from there and we all got cut.
Isn't so? First of all, now you can probably laugh at it, but I know that I felt an injustice when I did improv, and I was like, "You guys are wrong. What are you talking about? There's like politics, all of this stuff," and that actually impacted me for a little bit. I'm sure it impacted you. How did you move
Mm-hmm.
forward? What was going on in your mind at the time?
I was crushed. Like, this is something that like I had dedicated years and years to, and it's your social life and it's your identity in a certain way. And, back then it was also the place where you could get seen. They would have an industry night. You couldn't, I mean, it makes me sound 1,000, but there wasn't like social media or YouTube where you could just put together your sketch. There was nothing you could do except get into a program where you would have an industry night that actually people would come to, like they would come to the groundlings. And it was, I think, the first time I really didn't get something I tried really hard at. I think I had always been able to, if I really tried, be pretty successful in getting through. And it was the first thing that was like, this is just unfair and actually makes no sense. I cannot do anything about it. And oh my God, you just crushed my heart. Like really, really crushed. Luckily, I think this has helped me as well, is, I'll get a little crushed, but when I kind of really get crushed, it gives me like a little bit of a fear and anxiety. And that makes me dig into something new really fast.
Oh wow,
Like I don't linger in it. It spurs me to, all right, now what do I fucking do? Okay, now I'm going to do stand up. Here we go. I'm going to talk to these 10 people and then I'm going to show up. And within the next 4 weeks, I will have done my first stand up act. Like I just kind of, my anxiety and fear in those moments really get me like up and like wake me up in the middle of the night. You got to have a plan.
that's crazy. So like literally, you've been cut, as you said, friends, career
Mm-hmm.
potentially, all of
Mm-hmm.
this, and you're like, I'm just going to
Mm-hmm.
do stand up.
I mean, first I cry for like, a couple,
Yeah,
a little bit, first I talk about how unfair it is and cry
of
and,
course.
deal with all the shit. And then pretty quickly I go, all right, by the end of whatever month it was, by the end of June, you're going to have 7 minutes and you will have been on stage.
Wow. Do you
Okay.
think that blows my mind? Do you think that rejection has helped you for this crazy career?
Hmm. I think those are the things people don't talk about. Like, this is what I always talk about when I speak, if I'm ever asked to speak at something or whatever. And I don't want to like ruin people's like impression, but I'm like, the amount of creativity that is involved in your success is so low. Like, how good you are at your job or writing or directing or being funny or whatever really is just not a very high percentage of whether or not you're going to be successful and be able to stay long term in this business. Like so much it's how do you handle like how do you handle adversity? How do you handle rejection? How quickly can you pick yourself up? I mean, how how do you handle stuff like that? Like it can't you if you're the kind of person where that crushes you and you have to wait till you're inspired again and all that, this isn't this isn't the lane for you. It's resilience. And you know, that I really think is so huge.
I agree 10,000%. And you're right. No one ever talks about it. Were you born
Mhm.
resilient? Was it formed from that experience, other life experiences, or have you always had that little punch?
I kind of always have, and I don't know why. I kind of don't know where it came from. I've also, this was the other thing, until sort of that groundlings moment, not justified, I had a very, very healthy confidence. I really would walk into rooms knowing nothing, having no experience, and be like, yeah, of course I should be here. Like, you know, you're going to hire me. Like, this
Yep.
is what are we even doing here?
Yep.
And that got me pretty far, for whatever reason. And so I didn't struggle with like performance anxiety or fear of rejection in ways that friends of mine struggled with.
Yeah.
Um, and that's just, I don't know why. I think in my head, again, I think because my brain is actually so academic and my background in high school, I went to a very difficult academic high school. I was pre-law at Cornell University. I had to put my head down and just do the work. And I think when I came out and started acting, I approached it as if I was like looking for a job at, wherever, some finance company. I just was like, here's my plan. These are my 5 steps. Like I really kind of break stuff down like that, especially in moments where I've been fucking just punched in the throat and my knees have been kicked out from under me. Is I default into meh, meh, meh mode.
That's really interesting. Do you do other things outside of that to deal with like rejection? Like some people just say they go for a walk, or you just straight to action. Is that the thing that you do?
I think no, I mean, obviously, this is when it gets me. I don't see most of things in my industry when I don't get stuff as rejection. I really don't. The only time is when something is categorically unfair and it is literally like, it doesn't make sense. Like on paper, this doesn't make sense. This wasn't a smart move for you. You're losing money on this. Like,
Ah,
this is just categorically unfair. If I have not prepared enough for an opportunity, I get mad at myself. But if I've gone into something, do what I want to do, I did the preparation. If I don't get something, I don't feel rejected.
what's that? What's that like? Is it just this is the business, this is the industry, this is how it is, or you're like I've done what I can?
It's just I've done on my side. Like recently, I was up for a job and it was me and this other woman who's super talented and I love her and we're very different. And as soon as I heard that she was the other person, I went, if this was my TV show, I'm casting her. She's so much better for this role. Like just her persona. And so it went to her and I was like, yes, like that's the smart decision. And so things like that, it might bum me out. I might be like, oh, I really wanted that job. That would have been cool. I could have gone to blah, blah, blah. And I blah, blah, blah. But I didn't feel rejected.
Have you had this just springs to mind because I've had quite a few guests say like they were one of two people and the director was like, no, you remind me of my sister, or your eyes are too blue, or you're a bit too small compared to the male lead. And that's just a very small
Oh,
sample. Okay,
yeah.
glad you.
All the time.
Oh, damn.
Literally, like this one, to be honest, this woman is blonde and more sort of like, just kind of trophy wife vibe. And that's the look that that role should be. But there's definitely been things, where they're like, listen, we've already cast 3 brunettes on this show. So unless this role goes blonde, this one's going to have to be blonde. And you're like, this is like a major movie. Like, what? But that's the reality, and I think because I do so many other jobs in production and I've done every little single part of this, I think like that too. Like in this, I was like, oh, they definitely that she when you're creating, the whole landscape of your show, that makes more sense than I do. I wouldn't cast me if I were running this. So I'm thinking as a showrunner, often, even when I'm just going in as an actor.
I get that, but like for example, let's say the blonde hair. If the family are all brunettes and you're a brunette, and they're like, we would just want a blonde because like sometimes it just doesn't make
Well, I don't
sense.
think they would do that. I feel like it's usually more of a vibe. Or,
Is it like a
listen,
feeling?
I
Like you
think
just
a
feel it?
vibe of a character, like,
Oh,
you
okay.
know, I think, listen, there's so much that goes into why you get cast in something. It's like, you never know what's going on behind the scenes. And I'm sure you've heard this 1,000 times. Um, but there's so many different directions someone could go. There's so many different like versions of one role that it could be. There's just certain people, especially in comedy and drama, who just have the right face to constantly being cast. They
Yep.
just bring something, even if they're not like the best actor. They just, the moment they're on screen, they give a vibe and a character that you couldn't write. Like it just does 80% of your work for you.
Yeah, I get that. I had one guest
Yeah.
who said that and he's a great actor, great person as well, and he wasn't getting that much work. And then he did like a buzz cut, like the army, but higher up buzz cut.
Mm-hmm.
And he said once he did that, he was just hired for like a range of roles, but he never
Yeah,
stopped working just because it is, and it's exactly what you said. That haircut changed his life, which blows my mind.
totally. And especially in comedy, like there's just quirky looking people that just immediately give texture that you can't fake.
Yep. Well said. And then from the
Yeah.
fairness, I'll give a small example. I know that you have created well, you created more than this, but you created 7 shows that didn't go ahead. How do you, when
Mm-hmm.
we're talking about fairness, very small example on my end, and I'm okay, I just use this as an example. I was
Yeah.
offered a TV developmental deal, as you've been offered probably a gazillion, and it didn't go ahead, and the producers were taking
Mm-hmm.
advantage and saying things, all the stuff that you've probably heard, and it didn't feel very fair at the time. I'm over it now,
Mm-hmm.
as you can tell. How do you deal with that side? Like when you've made a show and it doesn't go ahead, or they've already put in money, but they're like, oh, we're just not going to, all these little things. How do you deal with that?
You know what? I don't think there's a one answer for that because I feel like every single, as I'm going through my head, every single situation was different.
Mm.
So I will say sometimes it's just a numbers game because it was, old school pilot season where they would develop, 25 comedy scripts. It's like they only make 4 pilots, and of those, they're only going to pick up 2. So it's a numbers game.
That blows
Okay,
my,
I'm playing, I'm
yes.
just playing the numbers game. They may love it, but the main part of mine is a brother sister, and they just picked up this brother sister one. So they're not going to pick up 2 brother sister ones. And they have a development deal already with this network. And they're already in bed with the producers because the producers are the producers of their hit show, blah, blah, blah. Like when there's lots of that, it's less personal to me. It's a bummer. I'm not going to say I don't sit there and go like, fucking fuck, and just be like, you fucking bang, of course. But it's quick. It's, I just sort of am like, that's playing poker. You know what I mean? That's like the math may say push all in because you got a, 82% chance to win with 1 card to go. And some, 18% of the time, that person's going to turn over the card that knocks you out. So it just for me, but there are definitely, I mean, listen, the big one for me that still to this day is very painful is I'm sorry getting um shut down, well, first for COVID, but really we just were the beginning stages of what everyone's now seeing of the mergers and just people being let go and projects being let go and confusion and the industry changing. I mean, we went through like 4 different firings before,
I don't know
you
if
know,
that many. Can you give a
well,
context?
because so basically I was on a show, it was a Turner show. I created this TV show, it was on True TV.
Amazing
And
show.
thank you. And it was this small little show, weirdly, Little Train That Could, got great word of mouth and became kind of like a great show. So, and then it went on to, it was streaming on Netflix and it got bigger and bigger. So everyone at True TV was fired because the AT&T had bought Turner. So this is going to be so long and boring, but basically, so everyone there got fired. We moved to TBS, and then we were going to be on TBS for season 3. We'd already written it. We were their number 1 comedy.
Yeah,
Everyone was
it was
like
green lit.
clamoring. Oh, greenlit. I'd already written all the episodes we'd started shooting.
Oh, I didn't.
So
Okay, wow.
yeah, we were well into it. They'd already spent over half the budget for the whole season, in certain ways. And they were launching HBO Max. Now, that as now we're watching Warner Brothers, which is HBO and all of that, we're seeing them getting sold and all this stuff. They launched HBO Max with no plan. They had no content. They just kind of like, we have to have a streamer. And they did not know what they were doing. So we were moving to HBO Max mid COVID, like beginning of COVID, because um, HBO Max had launched. They no longer were going to fund TBS True or any of those for original scripted content. So we had the people at HBO Max. They were like, "We want your show. We need content. We're excited." We were about to start shooting again, and woke up and everyone had been fired at HBO Max. So now it's chaos, and Discovery buys it, I think, in the middle of the, like, there's just Discovery and nobody knows what's going on. At this point, nobody's really paying attention to any of the old Turner Network shows. It's COVID, height of COVID, where it was like, oh shit, maybe we're never coming back. Like everyone was dumping shows, streaming started. All these places are going bankrupt because streamers didn't have a plan. I mean, look at Peacock, all these places now. It's just
That's
a
crazy.
disaster. And so we had nobody that we knew. And it was like this weird perfect storm where everybody, all my agents, they were like, you're their number 1 show. You're coming back. You just have to wait, like whatever. And suddenly just weird stuff happened. And suddenly they called and like, we're shutting it down for good. And there was no one for us to call because no one was in charge. And they took the tax write off. And suddenly my like successful TV show, dream show that was like every part of me that I'd worked so hard on was gone. Like, so that unfairness of just craziness, that I have a trouble that I have to work on, and
I
it's obviously been years now. And obviously I've,
But it is
basically moved on.
so well. I don't normally compliment people's like shows and stuff. But my goodness, if I was to write a show, it would be
Oh,
like the
thank you.
tone, the way that you went about it, the casting
Oh,
was
thank you.
amazing. I even just watched I don't know how you are with compliments. You're gonna get a lot, but the casting was so good with Jason
I
and
love
you.
them.
So I just watched a few this morning because they always make me laugh. And with
Oh,
Jason, man, I don't know how to say his surname. Manchun
Mansukis.
Mansukas. Okay.
Mansukis. Mm-hmm.
Man, so good. And just like the Ice Cube bit, how he just casually just delivers that line, that is that in itself is one of the biggest laughs I've ever had in my life. And you guys have written the show really well. But anyway, back to
Thank
that.
you.
I didn't have that experience. And we'll talk about the other 7 ones.
So that was the very long answer to
No,
how I
it's great.
handle it. Depends on the situation. That one gutted me to this day, still gutted me. Also, because the industry's changed so much now in the past 6 years. And so shows like I'm Sorry don't get made now.
Yeah,
So it's even more sad because it's like that whole like Better Things and Catastrophe and Master of None and Curb and Louie. I mean, Curb keeps going because it's Larry David, but like all of those kinds of shows are not, nobody's greenlighting that at all.
And why is
There's
that? Is that
no market for that.
is well, I think there's a bigger market more than ever in terms of consumers, but are they scared of comedies or they don't think it will? Yeah, I
Well,
hate
this
that.
is a long, very boring thing I will go in, I can go into for hours on, but I'll give you the short of it. So basically, you know, with there being a very shrinking market within the industry, very few places now to sell because everyone's merged
Yep.
and everyone's struggling to stay afloat. So their original content has dropped dramatically from what it was pre-COVID. And it's being driven by algorithms and data.
Yeah.
And if you're going to use data to decide how to greenlight TV shows, it will always air against comedy, sadly, because it gets historically much smaller audiences because comedy is much more
Subjective or
niche.
something.
What you
Yeah.
find funny, I don't find, you know, it's more, so they never get the same amount of eyeballs as a medium drama will. They don't translate internationally and they fail more often. A mediocre comedy kind of bombs, whereas a mediocre drama still will do kind of okay. So if places are relying more and more on their data departments to decide where to put their dollars like a stock analyst would, and that is what's happening now, and I understand why, because it is saving these places from going under. It is unfortunately always going to err against comedy.
You would think that I can understand using the data, but you think you'd still have the data and then a bit of like human emotions and understanding that it's not purely this is a guide, this can help. There's
I'm
value, but
sure that there is a level of that, but I think that level's getting even more and more right now. Hopefully it swings back the other way. But I think as, you know, there's only really 5 places now, and some of them are still really struggling. So, you know, it's working for them, sadly. I mean, not sadly, because it's keeping them in business. It's safe, it is working. Hopefully it will balance out a little bit, but the days where like the president of the network can green light what they want and they take a chance on Seinfeld, like those days are done right now, sadly. So it really is, and I hate to be like the down, you know, whatever, like downer and whatever, but it's just the reality. And so right now is like I'm waiting to find out if my TV show is going to go,
is
you
that
know, at
Perth?
Fox. I'll know soon, perf. I wrote the pilot and then they asked me to write another episode, which is sort of their version of doing a pilot because they don't shoot pilots. So, and everyone loves it. So, and I'm really proud of it. It's really fucking funny, if I do say so myself. But the question is, will Fox start leaning back into comedy or not? We'll see. You know, I'll know hopefully relatively soon.
Oh, I really am excited because it's going to happen. That is
Thank
such a
you.
crazy story. But also, given how successful the show was, and yes, everything that you said,
Mhm.
wouldn't someone just be like, you know, your show was number one, we'll figure out a way? Or did it, because of all these mergers, it got lost kind of in translation where
There
it's
were a
not?
couple people who tried a little bit, but keep in mind this all happened in the fall of 2020. So
Oh, fun
everyone was
times.
panicked.
Yeah,
Like
great
literally
time.
no one was in the office. No, but everyone's going, are we ever coming back? Like all they're seeing is losing money, losing money. And so it was just like it went away and there was no it was just chaos for like another year.
Yeah.
Then there were a couple places, but it's hard because they considered it a rival show. So even though it was a Turner show, other streamers were like, it did so well on Netflix that's considered a rival. We're not going to, like it was licensed to Netflix, but Warner Brothers owned it. And we were down the road a little bit on one, but it just was, it's so complicated to get a show
Yeah.
from one entity to another. So it's hard. And unfortunately, the first 2, 3 years to do it was just mayhem. And then
As
the
in,
strike, and that, in the
oh, okay,
industry, it
yeah.
was just like
Yeah, yeah.
the world in the industry. It was like up was down, down was up. So any sort of, way to get it, everyone was just in full panic mode for like 3 years.
And this is going to annoy you, but I'm sure everyone's thinking
Mhm.
this. Is there no
Mhm.
way once the tax write-off's been done to bring it back in like 2 years or 3 years or now, or once it's that happened, it's done?
I mean, there's no one left affiliated with the show still at Warner Brothers, and HBO Max is just, they're being sold probably to Paramount, assuming that deal is about to go through.
Yep.
So they kind of stopped doing original programming with the exception of, Harry Potter and the Penguin, like very, sort of, but they stopped. I don't know if you noticed, they stopped really doing programming, like original programming. So they're the ones who own it. There's no one there that we know. It just was like this kind of weird thing where you're going, this doesn't make sense. And that's why this has been a real tough. Like if it had just not been doing well and it got canceled, I'd be bummed, but I'd be like, listen, it didn't perform, it didn't resonate, it didn't whatever. But that's why this one was just tough.
I don't blame you because I've written, I don't know, close to 10 scripts, and the effort
Wow.
that you put into a script, for people that don't know, it is crazy. It's not just I've come up with an idea and you put pen to paper. I don't know your process, but there's could be a TV Bible. You're working with other people, you're discussing,
Oh,
maybe you're meeting consultants. That's just like getting the initial stage done. You then actually were the showrunner, you were the co-showrunner, you were
mhm.
the writer, the producer. You would have had to do everything. This is like 100 hour, at least 80 hours a week.
Oh,
Would have a toll on,
oh, it was 24/7. Yeah.
yeah, you're not switching off. I think you had a young child at the time as well.
Hmm. Yep.
This is crazy. You're
It
working.
was like doing an independent film for 4 years. Like that's what it felt like. Just constant. I mean, literally when we were shooting season 3, within the first week, it's constant. Whatever. One of our transpo guys had a heart attack at lunch and literally almost died. His son was the head of transpo, saw his dad go down, started giving him
Oh,
CPR, came like, so we were like, we're shutting down for the day. We got to make sure he's okay. 4 days later, I'm not going to say what position this person was in, but a very high producing position, showed up intoxicated at 7 o'clock in the morning on a Monday. And at the same time, it was just constant insanity for 4 years, like nonstop.
you know what
I
you
mean,
should have
that's
done?
just literally the bit, like, that's just like the
That
littlest
that
amount.
that just with the guy now. I hope the guy is the
He's
so I
fine.
can say this joke. Okay, you
Yeah.
know what you should have done is just put like a hut around him and go, okay, guys, let's get back into it. We don't have time. It reminds me of one of my
It
friends.
was
He did his
wild.
knee.
Uh-huh.
I know your sense of humor, so hopefully you appreciate it.
Mhm.
But one of my friends, he did his knee. You know basketball on the baseline, so
Yeah.
right offside the court. His head was on the baseline, the rest of his body was off, and so
Whoa.
he was fine. It was just
Yeah.
his knee,
Still. Wow.
and he could he couldn't like move because he didn't want to like jam his knee. But because he was on the court, they had to cancel the game. If he was off the court, we could have continued. So
We could
we're
have
all
kid.
while actually he did his ACL. So yeah, so we were like,
Yeah.
do we drag him? How do we push him? Because it's only like 10 centimeters. And so this guy's in agony, and we're like, how do we push him off the
It's kind of
court?
a
Yeah.
liner. That's a liner. Is he in
Yeah.
I mean, do you consider if he's on the line, is that in, or does he have to be fully
We
out?
asked the refs and they said it was subjective. So we just pushed it. No, I'm joking. The game was cancelled, and
Of
you did the
course.
right
Yeah.
thing by,
Yeah.
that's crazy. So
So honestly, it was like something I had blood, sweat, and tears to the nth degree. I mean, from marketing to teasers to everything I had a part in, which was wonderful because I was able to create the exact show I wanted to do, but it was no joke. And I had a young child. So I was literally only at work or with my daughter. So it was, it was really, really hard and wonderful in lots of ways, but also not sustainable.
How does it feel now knowing that and you get this a lot, you're very modest. I never read the comments, but I was like, holy shit, you're getting a lot of comments when you post these clips and you've inspired many people. I wrote down a few things. You're also just raising awareness about life and like general humor. And there was an example with the breast tissue you can talk about if you want, but knowing that you inspired so many people despite all that is going on and you could create something that you like, how does that feel now, despite the anger that you and we all
It
wanted to
felt
create?
wonderful, honestly. It feels wonderful. The fact that, 6 years later, people still are touched by the show, even remember the show with so much content that's been out. But so many people say they thought I was like videotaping their, conversations and then like translating it into TV. They were like, "How do you know what I talk about at home?" Um, and you know, we worked so hard to make sure every joke was based in some sort of real situation. Like that wasn't a fluke. That was like blood, sweat, and tears to make sure that everything was real or based in something real. So then that's why it felt real. Um, it was hard. It was a hard show to do and keep the quality up. It really, really was. But I'm so proud of it. And um, just happy that it people like find joy in it.
And you can go as deep as you want. You mentioned that it took a toll, obviously, when you work those hours as well, and you're doing your
Mhm.
dream. How did you kind of build yourself back up from the impact that it probably had in your life?
It was tough because we were going 2,000 miles an hour. We were shooting, we were going, and then suddenly it just all came to a screeching halt, COVID.
Mm.
And we didn't know, that the show wasn't coming back. I never saw my crew again. I never saw my cast again, ever. Um, we just shut down on a Thursday. And, and so it was very hard because in the fall, when I found out that we were losing, it was also the world was in the fall of 2020, not knowing what's going on. We're about to have an election. Like it was just like a lot was happening. I also, you know, I was able to be home and be with my daughter. And I don't feel like she ever really felt me not being there because I worked really hard to
Mm.
make sure I still did drop off. I still was home for dinner. I still did bedtime,
Wow.
and I didn't see friends. I literally just never saw anybody else. So I literally all I was work or home. And that was okay. It took a while because the rest of the world was also so
The
crazy.
timing is crazy. Like when they do a movie on your life, it is crazy.
Yeah,
Just all of this,
very
and then
boring.
obviously COVID happened. No, it wouldn't be, but it's just like it's just
Yeah,
like
it
I
was
wouldn't.
just
Yeah.
being dropped into this like, oh my God. It's not like your show being canceled and the industry's still going and people are like, well, come on in. We want to do your next show. Like there was just nowhere to turn. But what's interesting is going back to when I get sucker punched in a big way and I sort of go like, fuck it. I'm just going to push into something else. The week I found out, I'm sorry, I was officially canceled. I had a pitch to come on as a director for a movie, which I'd never done before. And the day after I'm sorry, I got canceled was when I had to pitch for it. And I was like, fuck this. I'm going to pitch the shit out of this. And I got it. And so I got attached to direct a movie that has not been made, but it
So
was,
cool.
it's hard to get, and that pushed me into a world that I hadn't done before. And now I've written 3 movies in the past couple of years. I'm attached to direct
Whoa.
3 movies. And that week I was like, all right, you got to pivot, that being said, the world was still crazy.
Yeah, of
And
course.
then there's strikes and this and that. And as I mentioned, I also went through end of my marriage and through all of this as well, and didn't want to talk about it publicly, wanted to protect my family. I was doing press for Tulsa King when it was all happening and just still wore my wedding ring so I didn't have to address it. And um, really have gone kind of quiet. I don't go on social media very much, and that's probably a detriment. And I'm just a little scared of it. Like, I don't know how to get back on it in a weird way when you don't have like something specific you're doing. I don't have a comfortable relationship with
No one does,
how to be
but
on it.
But
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but thank you for bringing that all up. But from the social media stuff, you just even posting clips. One of my friends, he is authentic as fuck, unlike 99% of people. He is just so good. Hey, this is what's happening in my life, or this is what I've done. He's amazing.
Yeah.
That's not for me. But what you've got is a body of content, and you can just, well, I don't know what you want to do.
But don't you feel like everyone's seen that show if they're
No,
following me? Like, I
no.
feel like you've all seen it. Don't you
Doesn't
want?
matter if you've, I'm okay. This is the only time I'm going to
Yeah,
disagree with you.
I
You
get
are
this is
wrong.
something real
You
for I'm happy to be wrong because I really struggle with how to stay connected when I don't when it feels kind of performative or like what do you care? You're not interested in what I'm doing.
well,
Like
I
this
think
just feels ridiculous.
I disagree. When I said that you're coming on the podcast, it went crazy. Like, so that's just a small, and that
Oh, that's very nice.
you've done a lot, but also just like what I've seen some people do, and I'm happy to
Mhm.
just say you're wrong and give you
I love being
support
wrong.
this.
So let's
Yeah,
actually that's so not true. I fucking hate being wrong.
but
But
even
I
just
will listen. I will
yeah,
listen.
even just let's just say I'm sorry, and you've done so much stuff before. Even just small clips. First of all, even if you've seen the show and you watched 100 times, that's still good for your algorithm. People like it, they comment, whatever. I
Yeah.
don't know how the
God,
algorithm works.
that algorithm shit. Yeah.
And sometimes people forget the bit, like I told you, the ice cube. That's amazing. Or
I did post the Ask Cube one
yeah,
a couple months ago because Charlie Sheen had a documentary where he talked about putting ice up his butt. And I was like, oh.
oh,
And so I posted it. And I will say that clip got like 2 million views or something. Like it was
exactly.
crazy.
You figured it out.
But
You could just do
I,
like small things like that, or other
yeah.
things that you've done. Some other actors I know, they just go, "Remember, I was in this show." You could probably do a few
Mm,
Step Brother things, and they'll get more than 2 million.
oh,
And Veep,
Jesus.
all
Yeah.
the other, all the
Yeah.
yeah. And then that way, if you or you build a relationship with the camera in a different way to what you used to, but you're gonna
Yeah.
do, you're
I
gonna
gotta
kill it.
do it. That is something that I realize I'm like, it makes me nervous. Like I can tell I avoid it because it makes me uncomfortable. And I'm like, all right, stop avoiding it. You gotta
You're gonna do great. I'm not worried about you at all. And in
thank
ter-
you.
you're doing great. I'm proud of you. And in turn, and you
Thank
can go
you.
as deep as you want. You mentioned that the divorce, the
Yeah.
stress of the jobs, directing,
Mhm.
all of that stuff. What do you think has helped you? Because it sounds like you're in a good place now. Obviously, all of that is just super stressful, and I've seen a lot in
Mhm.
my life, and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Any things that have helped you just feel a bit more like you, or be able to move forward?
Time for sure. I mean, it's so cliche, but you know, slowing down a little bit and going, this is going to be a process. You're not going to feel better right away. Cause sometimes I kind of want to just jump to the next thing and be okay again and get that. And it was like, none of this stuff is going to be fast. And if you pass it over and don't really process it or mourn it or deal with it, it's going to rear its head in some weird fucking way later. And you're going to be like nude running down like Sunset Boulevard or something, like
Oh, have
which
you also
maybe
done
is
that?
what I should do. Maybe
Yeah.
that's the thing that I post.
That
But
could also get 2 million plus views.
by the way, wouldn't that be sad if it was like, I got like 30 views?
It's like
Uh,
when you're talking about the prostitute bit, like how much are you worth? Like if you, what's the number that you would feel?
Still to this day,
Yeah.
I, with my now ex-husband, again, like I said, we're very close. I'll be like, you're so fucking wrong. At least $2,000. He's like, you are out of your mind.
What was the number?
Like,
$200? That's even offensive for me.
well, I purposely wrote it that it would be, obviously
Okay,
we went
okay, cool.
offensive.
It was like
He didn't say
375.
$200. Yeah, it was like
Oh,
something like that. I can't remember.
yeah.
But I think it is an important conversation to have with your significant other of what your street value would be for sex. I think that is an
I'm
important
too
thing.
scared to ask my wife. She's like, you'd have to pay them something like that.
Which, by the way, listen, that's okay. It's not going to
Is
be a
it?
profitable endeavor, but
No, I don't want
you'll
to be.
still
I
be
don't want to start
getting.
my own business and lose money. I've done that enough.
Well, listen, maybe prostitution isn't for you, Michael. Let's
We'll
just
agree to
consider that.
disagree.
Well,
Yeah,
okay,
I'll
we'll
come
agree
back
to
with the
disagree.
business plan. Yeah. Sorry,
So
you
I
were
would say time in general, realizing that it's going to take time. Therapy, really kind of started going to therapy in a consistent way. I feel like I had 4.5 years where I didn't live any life. All I did was work and see my daughter. I, I wasn't ready to jump right back into developing a comedy again. Because I was like, I need to like be out in the world for a while. Unfortunately, for the first year and whatever of that, the world was shut down and there was no world to go out to. Um, but I've just kind of like reconnected with friends and I spend a ton of time with my daughter. She's, now older and going to be leaving for college in the next couple
oh
of years.
shit.
I know it's crazy. And I'm just kind of I work and I write and I've been on stuff obviously, but like I pick up, drop off, now she's driving, but like just kind of volunteer at school and really tried to like be out in the world. One, just because that's what humans do and that I like
Not all.
that.
Yeah.
Not all. But I like people. I like chatting. I like going to the grocery store and chatting with the cashier. I like, I always find there's something weird and funny that happens. And then I got my little notes, I just kind of, and then before you know it, you're like, oh, I kind of have this little idea for another show again.
That's exactly what I
Um, and that's where perf came from, you know, and it is a woman who's divorced around my age.
What are
And
the odds?
weird. I know it's weird that that would happen. And living with two other people in their 40s who also are kind of restarting their lives for different reasons. And just having funny stories about sex and family and health and work and all the stuff.
That's awesome. Are you living with two, if I can ask, two
I am not.
40-year-olds?
I live alone or I live with my daughter and my dog and cat.
Cat, I heard the cat before. That's very
Mhm.
exciting. I
Candy
just want to,
Purple.
what did you say?
Her name is Candy Purple.
Candy Purple. Okay, that might be my previous dog's names as Champagne and Whiskey. We might have a
Oh,
draw, which
yeah. No, my crushes those.
yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. We'll
Sorry.
we'll put it
It's
out.
like
If
not even.
people let me
Yeah,
know
we'll vote.
which
We'll vote.
name's more exciting or crazy. Let us know. I think Champagne
Candy
and Whiskey,
Purple.
Candy
Yeah.
Purple. That
Yeah.
yeah.
Named by my daughter when she was 3.
Yeah, that sounds like it's a
Yeah.
wonderful name. I won't
Well,
argue
she
with
was
that.
a big fan of the book and movie. So,
I was wondering where I
um,
heard that from.
yeah.
Going back, I think this is really awesome, and it doesn't matter what one is going through in their life or anything, but also
Hmm.
sometimes just taking a step back. And
Hmm.
I hate the word being of service because it's not quite that, but like when you volunteer or help at school, it takes the pressure off
Hmm.
yourself. You're not probably thinking about the industry or your life or what you got to do next. You're kind of just there in the
Hmm.
moment. I love that. Not I did that many years
100%.
ago.
Yeah.
How have you found that?
I think it's great. I think, you know, I need time to just live because and like just feel all the weird things about being a human because I feel like that's kind of what I always end up writing about. Like if I'm writing something kind of for myself is like at the core my philosophy in everything I write is we're more alike than we are different.
Oh,
And
yes.
that's like my mantra kind of. And like in the world right now, I feel like we're constantly being told we're all so different and we're all against each other. But I'm like, if you really peel
I
away
agree.
not that much stuff, we all want the same shit. and we all feel the same stuff, and we all laugh and cry and want our kids to be whatever and want to have a partner. There's just all the things. So that's kind of and so it's like going out and connecting in the world is really like what I find to get me out of a funk and like get me inspired again is just like connecting out in the world.
I love this. This is just speaking to my soul. I also
Oh,
like don't need to leave home so much if I'm doing this or I'm writing or whatever. Like,
yeah.
and I have at least it's probably about 50 pages worth of just like like dot points or paragraphs from interacting or funny things like Curb. And I've
Hmm.
just got I've got like, as I said, I've written under 10 including movie shows, but I've probably got
That's
about 5 or
amazing.
6 more just from writing dot points. And I've my
Yeah.
wife makes me go to this cafe just for like 15
Hmm.
minutes every few days. And it has
Yeah.
been amazing just hearing their stories. And then it reminds me of stories. And then when they're speaking, like I learn about nails, girls' nails.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that was like the funniest thing I've ever heard in my life. And they're going back and forth and their theories on nails. I've got like a scene just from that. And I'd love it.
And that's, you put enough of those together and you've got a project. I mean, that's what I'm sorry was. It was, especially first season, was just stories that I had that then I kind of worked backwards to turn them into like a full episode and combine things and whatever, zhuzh them and make them more narrative or whatever. But everything that season was based on like a funny story that I just kind of been holding on to.
I love that. And I love that you're doing all of
Even
these
by the
things.
way, the ice going up the butt, that was based on a real story.
I hope it
Not me
wasn't.
putting ice up at
Yeah.
my butt,
Okay.
but
Thank you for
yeah,
clarifying. I
yeah.
wouldn't
But
looking.
our friend was set up with our friend's preschool teacher,
Oh my
and they
God.
went out, and he was like, it was great. She had me put ice up her butt and lick it out. We were like, what?
Slow down. Yeah.
Yeah.
That how do you look, and I know you did it in the show, because even with and this out of context might not sound funny to people, but this was ballsy and I love it. Even in the first episode you were like in the show, I'm sure it's somewhat true. You had the anal porn star. You put that in episode 1. As soon as I saw
Mhm.
that, I was clapping you. I was like, that is a ballsy move, because sometimes shows build up to like episode 7 or 8, but you put that in, and that what you're getting with this show, and it takes a lot of courage to do that. And I pretty much had exactly that conversation with my friends about someone that we know, and
It was
brilliant.
based on a real thing, and obviously not the way it all went down
Yeah,
in the
of course.
show, but it was based on a real thing. And I was just like, this is the show I want to make. And it's going to be ballsy, and it's going to be the things that people really talk about, and also my funny weird stories that I have, but also still are relatable. They're not like so crazy.
Yeah.
um of just when your kids are in preschool, it's weird, as I like to say. You're hanging out with a bunch of people that you have nothing in common with except you all fucked around the same time without protection, and that is just not a lot to
Oh,
base a relationship on, but that's all you have in common.
oh, that's great.
So weird stuff happens.
Okay, that's gonna keep me going. I'm gonna frame that quote. Actually, I put an audio. Just click a button. Fridge
By
magnet.
the way, I did put, because that is a joke that I've said before, just like in life, where I was like, that's really what it is. I that exact joke is in an episode of Perf.
Okay, everyone. Okay, there's two homework tasks for everyone. Find out who's in charge of I'm Sorry and let Andrea buy it
Mhm.
back for free.
Thank you.
And
Thank you for
then
free.
whatever Netflix, Fox, whoever you want, or you create your own streaming platform, get it made.
Mhm.
And then
Right?
to message Fox and get this greenlit
Get this
and all the
picked
other
up.
movies and the directing and all of that stuff.
Thank
Uh,
you.
one of the last things
Mhm.
one of the last compliments I'm going to give you, but I think this
Well,
deserves
let's
a
not
massive.
let's not
Okay,
make it
well,
so hard and fast. There's
okay,
time
well,
for maybe a couple. You know what I mean?
okay,
Let's not just limit ourselves to one.
5 more compliments.
Jesus, I can't even come up with that. But go ahead.
In a minute. This really speaks to me as a writer as well, wanting to get my shows made and movies and all of that
Hmm.
stuff. We glossed over this. We might have to talk about this another time. But you created 7 shows. They kind of got
Hmm.
greenlit and they didn't go ahead. You called yourself a
Hmm.
successful failure. I love that.
Hmm.
And
Very
then
successful failure.
each along the way that can really crush you. Like, is it ever going to get made?
Hmm.
Because it's to me, that's a massive success. But at the same time, as we said, when you create something, you want to get it made. And sometimes it can even be worse where it doesn't really get to that stage and then it's just
Mhm.
cut because you kind of want the
Mhm.
idea of doing 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons, whatever. But
Yeah.
then you decide to do something different. And it doesn't matter whether you're a
Mhm.
writer or what industry you're in, you decided to actually change kind of the narrative of you
Mhm.
and this and actually film basically a
Mhm.
pilot. Can you tell me
Yeah.
about that? That is
14, I think it was
so great.
14 minutes.
Yep.
Yeah, I just went, you know what? I've done this, I've done this song and dance enough where I sell them something they love. Over time, it gets mm, weirdly fucked with notes or this and that, or it turns in the way they like it. And then for whatever reason, it doesn't go. Also, I don't necessarily write like hard jokes on a page. Mine is a little bit more performance. And because I'm writing it for myself, I know how it's going to be in my own head. And so that sometimes makes it harder for people to read without knowing what the tone is and seeing an example of it. And then they immediately can read the rest of it, knowing what they've already seen. So I just was like, I want to shoot something. Like, this is crazy. And I'm going to show people what I'm talking about because I know this works. Um, and
Nice.
so I did, and luckily it did. Luckily it worked. It could have not, but it did. And I had great people supporting me doing that. Jessica Elbaum with Will Ferrell's company, and then also the Lonely Island guys had a deal where they had money to do this kind of thing. Um,
I had one of them on.
so yeah, they're lovely, and they had the money to do these pilot presentations, obviously very limited. And I called in a bunch of favors from June Squibb to Judy Greer to Jason Mantzoukas to Judith Light. Like, I got these people who just out of the kindness of their hearts, like, did this 14-minute like presentation.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's very empowering to know that we can kind of do it as well. Can even grab
Yeah.
because often we, as you said, you wait for the gatekeepers, you wait for people to greenlit it. They might not understand it, but you actually
Yeah.
did it. That is
Yeah.
amazing.
And it's more easy to do. I mean, it's easier to do that than it's ever been. Like, now, if you have an idea, you have the power to do a proof of concept, which didn't exist before, and use it. Because if you're waiting for people to green light or open the like, it's just so hard right now, especially with the industry shrinking, the dynamics changing, data is now control. There's a lot of stuff changing where creative isn't going to be enough. But proof of concept, you're able to do that on your own terms. You have the control for that. Doesn't have
Agreed.
to be super fancy or expensive by any means.
I agree. I love that advice. I think, should I?
Well, you did say there were 5 more compliments. I feel like,
Oh,
we haven't really,
okay.
this is
I'll
awful
give
for
you
me to
one,
bring
which
up,
is
but
a,
no,
I'll
no,
get,
please
no,
stop.
no, because this also paints me in an interesting position
Oh,
as well. Because
all right,
what
great.
you did to show this pilot, whatever you want to call it, is
Yes,
you wanted to show the tone because
the tone.
sometimes when you read something on paper, you don't know
Hmm.
the pacing and all that stuff. I had a meeting many years ago with she's kind of the lady that produces all the Netflix comedies,
Hmm.
and I had a bit, and I genuinely think is the funniest thing ever. It's about this group arguing who has to deal with they're at a restaurant and the table's
Uh-huh.
wobbly and the water's not coming, and they're saying it's whoever organized the event is in charge of making all the decisions. And so it's
Uh-huh.
funny, but
Yeah.
reading on it, it's funny, but it's the pacing of getting angry, of why I'm not the host, you're the host, the onus is on the host. And when I kind of read a little bit to her, which is a bit cringe, oh my God, that's funny. Why is that on
Yeah.
the page? I'm like, it is on the page,
It
but I
is on the
can't explain.
page.
So you
Yeah.
actually showing tone, which is
Hmm.
because, as you said, a lot of shows,
Yeah.
not that they're similar whatsoever, but they just read it how they've seen other things, and tone is
Hmm.
such a crucial element. So there's your compliment. You did
Especially
great
when
with.
when you're the person performing it too. Like, it's it's just it's hard for them to hear it or know exactly what you're talking about, especially in comedy. Like
Mm.
comedy is just really so specific to the execution. And it's, you sit there and you try to get it as clear on the page, but it's really often not, and that's one of the benefits of, running the writer's room, but also being the person acting it, because there would be stuff in the writer's room where they'd be like, this totally works. This totally works. And I'm like, listen to me say it out loud and you're going to hear why it doesn't work, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Um, and they're like, oh, because writers, a lot of times they're in the writer's room, no one acts it out. Nobody says it. Because if there's no person who acts in the writer's room, often it can get onto set and nobody said it out loud before. Um,
Yes.
if there hasn't been a table read or something. But like that's just, I think, something that actually was really helpful having that in the writer's room where I could read everybody's parts and make sure everything worked
Amazing. Okay.
to make it more smooth.
That is good for me to know. What we're going to do now is a really
Mhm.
quick rapid fire segment.
Oh, Lord.
I'll also ask some fan questions as well. I'll do some of
Ooh,
mine and some of the fans and see how we go.
okay.
Ready
Can I
to
guess which
rumble?
are yours? Oh,
You can if you want.
no, I'm kidding.
Um,
Yeah, go ahead.
ready to rumble.
I'm ready.
What's been your special ingredient to work all these years?
Resilience,
What lights you up?
friends,
What are you most proud of?
my daughter.
What's it like getting the call that you're going to be on Curb?
Really fucking awesome.
Do you have any good Larry David stories or any that spring to mind?
He was just as lovely and funny and amazing as you'd want him to be. I mean, I had to have his penis in my face for part of it. Um, and again, I didn't see it. I mean, it was covered. It was in pants. So I can't comment on it in, with
In
specifics.
great detail, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I have like a real specific story. I've worked with him a couple times and he's just lovely and as wonderful and funny and smart as you want him to be.
Good answer. I won't comment on these. Did you know Step Brothers would be a hit when you started?
Absolutely not. None of us, if you would ask me, that's going to be the thing that people walk up to you, generations younger than never in a million years. It was fun. We had a good time, but it was just no, we had no clue.
I didn't see the end of. Sorry, I didn't see the ending of your character, but it was hilarious. It made me laugh, especially at the very end. Did you see that ending coming with the arc of your character?
Uh,
How you
well, that
fall in
was
love, pretty much.
one of those. I'm trying to remember if that was in the script because my character was underwritten, let's say. And they really wanted somebody to come in and kind of like give it zhuzh. So I don't remember if the ending originally was that we were together or if I'm just at the dinner. I can't remember, to be honest, or if we kind of played that on the day. I don't
It was great.
totally
It was very
remember.
funny.
Yeah.
How exciting was being the president on Veep?
Honestly, the day that I got inaugurated was like the coolest day. Like there were just tons of extras and like my hair was out to here and I'm in a thing and I have my hand on the Bible and I'm literally getting like sworn in. It was so cool. It also was God, was that 2017? We had just had a very dicey election. So it was like a really weird time as well. And I was like, listen, if anything happens to the powers that be, I'm ready to
I'm ready
step
to
in.
step in.
I'm ready
You'd
to
make a
step in.
great president.
Oh, fuck, I would.
How was filming War of the Worlds?
Honestly, I had forgotten that I did that when that movie came out. And I somewhat like, I can't remember. Somebody said something to me. They were like, you have a movie coming out? And I was like, what? No, I don't. And they were like, yeah, it's called War of the Worlds. I was like, that's not me. Sorry. I literally didn't remember that I did it because I had not heard word one about this movie since we did it. We've shot it in the fall of 2020, height of COVID. I had to shoot everything on my own on a phone or an iPad. I never was around anyone. I think I had to do my own wardrobe. They would drop stuff off at my house. we did a table read, and I was like, I don't really understand what this is, but there was no other work to do. And it was like, oh, the cast was kind of cool, whatever. I had completely forgotten about it. They did not tell any of us it was coming out. Like, they didn't alert. Like, usually it'll be like, hey, it's coming out. Will you post it? Literally didn't know. I have not seen it, but I was so excited that we had a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, I was like, I am so excited, please. And then one fucking critic had to say like one compliment or something. And then I think we ended up at 3%, and he ruined everything.
You're still part of
And
history.
I heard it swept the Razzies. Very proud. I've not seen it. I hear that I come off okay. Like I'm not part
That's
of the
that's all that matters.
horror show, but it is just, that was the weirdest thing when that came out, because it had been 5 years, had never heard a whisper of it.
That's crazy. I've never heard anything like
Mhm.
that. Congratulations being part of history. What
Thank you.
some of the traits you look for and don't look for when you're working with someone, maybe as a showrunner or writer?
I very much, and I know I'm not the only person who says this, but like, I have a no assholes policy. Like, you have to, there's too many qualified people. You might be slightly better than someone else, but if you're going to be an asshole or just attitude or defensive or just kind of, especially in a writer's room, it's such a delicate environment. And one shithead ruins the entire room. So really, I just want to know that other people I know have worked with them and vouch for them, like that they're just good people. And often I'm looking for people who a little bit live in my similar life. If I'm writing something that's coming from my voice, that was a big part when I was staffing. I'm sorry, was like, do they have kids? Are they married? Do they have real stories that we're going to be able to draw from their lives? Because that wasn't a show where you just go down and you're like, what if this happened, like out of nowhere? It really was, these are the concepts that I'm talking about. It's going to be friendship. Who's had an interesting friendship story, whatever.
Phil Rosenthal, who I've had on the podcast as well, he did the same for Love Him, Amazing Guy. I'm also moderating. He's coming
He's
to
wonderful.
Melbourne. Very generous.
Oh,
And he kind of has yeah, very cool. And he's had a very similar philosophy as well. Last question before I ask how people can follow you and keep up to date with you. What is the one question I should have asked you?
my bra size.
Can you imagine I asked that? I know you were joking, but can you imagine? Is it worse if I asked that at the start or at the end? The start, probably, right?
Weirdly, I feel like the end, because the start, I feel like the start, I would have just been like, all right, here we fucking go.
Yeah,
And would have just been like, all right, bye-bye.
Yeah.
At the end, you question everything else you just did for an hour.
Because we
You'd
had
be
like a
like,
normal,
wait, what just happened? I thought this was like normal. And then
Yep.
he asked my bra size?
Yeah.
I feel like the end is the weirder move.
I'm going to be thinking about this for way too long. I'm going to ask all my friends, especially, thank you. Is there any other question? Otherwise, that's the best response I've ever had in over 300 episodes.
Oh my God, that's very, very kind. In truth, God, I feel like we've covered a lot.
Anything you want to tie up? Anything spring to mind? If not,
No,
cool, G.
I'm good.
Cool.
I'm good.
Amazing. And before we go, how can people follow you, keep up to date with you?
Well, as we've discussed, I'm not good at letting
very
people keep up to date with me. No, I really have disappeared. I am on Instagram. I'm not really on TikTok. So Instagram, and I believe it's just my name, Andrea Savage.
Amazing. Thank you very much. You're very inspiring, uplifting. I need to fit 2 more. I don't know if no, I'm joking. This was a real treat, and I really appreciate it. And thank you so much.
So nice to meet you.
I love how, despite selling many shows that ultimately didn't get made, Andrea chose to do something different. She decided to film her own proof of concept show herself so people could actually see what she was creating. Rather than relying on gatekeepers or networks to fully understand her vision on paper, she decided to bring it to life. She created a proof of concept using her network, skills, and the resources she already had, allowing people to see beyond the pitch and into the world she imagined. And there's something incredibly empowering in that for all of us. It's a reminder, regardless of what profession you're in, that we don't always have to wait for permission or for someone else to validate the idea first. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is make the thing ourselves, to show people rather than just tell them. So I'll leave you with this epic quote. Make visible what, without you, might perhaps never have been seen. Robert Bresson. Thank you for listening to the Funny and Failure podcast, exploring the deeper side of comedy and life.